Hi, my name is Justine, and I'm one of the Writing and Study Skills tutors here at Wake Tech. In this video about writing for psychology, we will be looking at revising and how to make sure your psychology papers are ready for final submission. Now, if you haven't checked out our other videos on the writing process, research, and APA format when it comes to your psychology papers, you might go back and watch those as well. But for right now, let's take a closer look at the revision process. So, one thing to consider when you are revising your paper, and this is your final step in the writing process, once you have written all your ideas out and the paper feels like it's ready for final submission, you want to go back and double check a few things. And one thing to pay attention to are your formal writing rules. So, these are some questions that you can ask yourself to make sure that you are maintaining a formal academic tone in your papers. So, the first one when it comes to maintaining that academic tone is making sure that you have higher level word choice where appropriate and higher level sentence structure, making sure that that is a college level written paper. Along those same lines, you want to make sure that you are maintaining a third person point of view. So, this means avoiding words like I, we, you, those first person and second person pronouns that can make your writing just a little bit less formal. So, to keep that formal tone, you want to stay in third person. You also want to make sure that you're avoiding contractions. So, instead of can't, saying cannot, instead of don't, do not. So, avoiding contractions just also keeps your tone formal. There's nothing wrong with contractions. They just, again, are a little bit less formal and can make your writing not come across as strong. And along those same lines, too, avoiding informal language. So instead of kids, saying children maintains that formal academic writing. All right, some more questions to consider when you're revising your paper are listed here. So, one is taking a look at your claim, asking yourself if your claim is stated clearly in the introduction and restated in the conclusion. Remember, the claim is also like your thesis statement, that main point of your paper. Next, you want to look at your evidence. Do you have a body of the paper that consists of evidence to back up and support your claim? Next, looking at your analysis. Again, considering the objectives of the paper and the guidelines that are provided by your instructor, but usually you want to move beyond summary to help the reader understand your evaluation and analysis of the text or data that you are writing about. Along with that data, usually you're going to be relying more on data than opinion or personal experience. So personal opinions or anecdotes generally do not qualify as appropriate evidence to support your claim, just as your opinion would not qualify as data. But again, look back at your guidelines for the assignment, make sure that you are following those. If the assignment indicates that you should be applying a certain psychological theory, make sure that you are properly applying that theory within your paper. If it's a research paper and you have quoted material, you want to make sure that you're using that quoted material sparingly. So, when quoting a source, in order to provide evidence, use only the relevant part of that quotation. And when you establish a claim and provide textual support, be sure to explain the relationship between the quotation and the assertion. So, for research papers, you want to remember that most of the paper is going to be your own words and ideas. Even information that comes from outside sources, you should probably rely mostly on paraphrasing, putting the information in your own words, and then again, just quoting only when necessary. Another thing to consider is the verb tense. Remember that APA uses past tense verbs, and that shows that, accurately showing how research was performed in the past. And you want to shift verb tense only when necessary and if necessary. Also, when you're referring to your authors, remember that it is customary and respectful to refer to the authors using their last names. And then finally, take a look at your grammar and mechanics, making sure you have no errors there, and then double checking your formatting and citations. Now, when considering your APA format and APA citations, which is usually what is required for psychology papers, let's look at a helpful resource here that you can find on the APA Style website. And they provide this student paper setup guide, which is really helpful to see all the details that you need to be keeping in mind to make sure that your paper has proper APA setup. And what's also nice is they give you examples here. So there's lots of information online about APA formatting. Of course, not everything that you're going to find is credible. So going straight to the APA style website is helpful. So here they give you the student paper set up for a title page. So remember, your first page of the essay is not the essay itself, but just the title page, where you have your page number up in the top right corner of your header. You have your title centered and bolded, and then you have all of this information for your paper. They give you more information about how to do that properly. And then you can see that the text of your essay starts on page 2. You again have your title centered and bolded, and then you begin writing. So again, a helpful resource here. And if you do have separate sections with headings, it tells you how to go about doing those. If you have any tables or figures that you need to include, it gives you information on how to format those as well. And if we come all the way to the bottom here, lots of information. You won't need all of this, but it's a good reference. But the last page of your paper will be your references, where you list all of your sources, and it shows you how to properly set that up. Okay, so thank you for listening to this video about the revision process. I hope that you've learned some helpful information about how to prepare your psychology papers for final submission. And remember, if you would like some help with that process, you can always schedule a one-on-one tutoring appointment with us. All right, thank you and happy writing.